So, before we begin actually coding, we need to think about something quite important. And that is, where on earth do we put or store our single task? So this thing we type in here. We obviously can't store it just in plain memory because every time we restart the app it'll disappear. So we have a few options. Either we can upload it to the cloud somewhere, or we can store it in a database, but that seems like overkill for a simple bit of text. We could store it inside our portable class library, but that's fairly complicated to do. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do is leverage the settings on all of the systems that we have, so iOS and Android and Windows Phone. And typically you'd use these to store preferences, but you can store a string of text in there. And the first step to doing this is to double click your packages inside each project and type Xamarin settings. And one of the guys that works at Xamarin has created this settings plugin that allows you to access the settings between applications. So simply add the package there, add it inside your Droid project. I really wish this added it to all of them at the same time. And of course we want it inside the iOS project. Okay, once we've got all those, we're actually ready to create some code. Open up your main page.xaml.cs, and inside our onSaveClicked function we want to grab the text. So let's just say var text is equal to the task text, and if you recall, that is the name that we gave it in here, task text. And then we want to pull out the text property from that. Then we want to check there is actually some text in there. So go ahead and type if not string dot is null or whitespace. Then we're actually going to save it. And of course, if it's empty, null or whitespace, you might want to have an else, and then in here some kind of message to user about the empty box. That's just good user experience design. So if we have our text and it's all good, inside here we actually want to save text to the user preferences, and we're going to use that settings plugin that we just got. I just realized I've made a slight error here, and in this is string is null or whitespace we actually have to feed it our string. So let's just type text. There we go, and that should work. And I'll just make sure that builds, and it does. We're fine. So we're ready to save that text. Now what I think his name is James Montemagno has done with this package is he's created a helper class here. So if you go into helpers and settings inside your shared project, you'll notice that he's created this static class, and inside here it allows you to set and get a default sort of string, and you'd need to modify this if you had different kinds of strings, etc. But what we're going to do here is change this settings key. So we're just going to have this as task, and then the default is just going to be an empty string, so we don't get any nasty initialization errors. And then inside our code we're actually going to use this general settings method that allows us to get and set our settings. So I'll just leave that up there for a second in case yours looks slightly differently, because these plugins do update occasionally, and you can get a good eye feel for what this actually is. Okay, I'll just close that. Inside our main page.xaml.cs, inside here we need to save the text, and because we have that really handy plugin and the helper class, this is just one simple line, and that is our namespace, and then .helpers, .settings, .general settings is equal to the text. That's all you need to save it. And then of course when our app fires up, we actually need to change the text inside the box. So I don't have it open there, but the text inside the entry box. And of course we'd like to grab this text and put it inside that box. And there are a few ways to do this. We can either have sort of a bunch of classes and methods that tell our UI that the value has changed, and it fires off an event that actually changes it inside the entry box. But that would be somewhat of an overkill for this kind of project. So all we need to do is come up to this main page class, and in here we need to write our task text.text is equal to our just do it .helpers.settings.general settings, and that'll go over to the settings file and grab the text for us. So let's run that on our iPhone, and thanks to that nice plugin, those 2 lines should actually take care of all of the bits and pieces that we need. So we have no text in here. I'm going to put make website and hit save. It would be nice if we had some sort of notification on save that actually said it was saved, but I'll leave that up to you to sort of implement. Then what I'm going to hit is Command-Shift-Home twice. That's the shortcut for the app switcher. I'm going to delete that, and then I'm going to open it again, and it should pull out that preference, and there we have our make website. So in a few short minutes we've actually coded the base layer of our app using that handy plugin. Let's add one little nicety, and that's a couple of messages that lets our user know they've clicked things or haven't entered enough text. So let's create a new method, and let's call void show alert, and then in here we're going to pass over a string which will be title string message, and I think we'll leave it at that and close it off. Okay, and then up here in our if and else statements we're just going to fire up that show alert, and so once we've saved it we actually want to tell our user that. Maybe we'll say success as the title, and task saved ... Now do it, and close that off. And then if we have no text inside the box, we want to again tell our user show alert the classic error box, no task to save ... and close that off. And then down here inside our show alert we actually need the method to display our alert, which is simply display alert, and it asks for a title, which we're going to give it, a message, and then it needs a bit of text for the cancel button. So this is usually okay. Right, let's hit save and go ahead and run that, and that just adds a nice bit of user experience to our app, so the user knows what's actually happening with it. So when I hit save, task saved, now do it. If I have no text in the box and I hit save, error, no task to save. Okay, that concludes the construction of this part of the app. In the next lecture we're going to look at inserting a small Google ad at the bottom of this screen so we can get paid from it.